Welcome back and thank you for staying with us right up to this stage, the home stretch. We did tell you at the beginning that we had a very unusual artist of the week today. You heard her singing there. Born and raised in Nigeria, singing was always an important pastime in Kechi's life. That pastime turned to therapy after a fateful day in 2005. Kechi, along with 60 of her classmates from Loyola Jesuit College in Abuja, were traveling on Sosoliso Airlines Flight 1145 when something went terribly wrong. That crash killed 107 people on board. She was one of only 2 survivors. All of her classmates perished, leaving her a lone student survivor. She was alive, but didn't escape the crash unscathed. Kelechi had third-degree burns over 65% of her body and arrived at the hospital with a 30% chance of survival. That's what she recalled. She spent the next 4 months in the intensive care unit and then 3 more months at the hospital in what she calls her patchwork era, because they were just patching me together and keeping me alive. Please welcome Kechi Okuchi.
Hello, hi everyone.
And I have just called her the lady with 9 lives.
Oh, I love that. Thank
Welcome.
you. Thank you so much for having me.
We are proud to have you with us.
Thank you.
Now tell us, how did you end up on America's Got Talent?
So America's
First
Got
of all, you're not
Talent.
American.
No, I am
you're
not.
Nigerian.
I am Nigerian, full born and bred Nigerian, yes. So America's Got Talent was something that happened out of nowhere, literally. I was in the middle of my MBA. I was working, and music was a pastime. It was my favorite hobby at the time. This was 2016. And the most I had done with it at that point was singing in church. That was as far as I'd gone. So I had no plans actually to take it further than that. I was not, thank you. I was absolutely not like gonna ever put myself out on a stage like that. So one of my best friends decided to put me out there for me. She had been telling me for years really to sign up for one of these shows, but I was just never going to do it myself. And she knew that.
Were you shy, or what was the reason why you never did?
I was never going to do it because I didn't feel like I was good enough for something like that. I just didn't think my voice would. I believed it was good, but not like competition good, you know. And even more so with how different I looked after the crash, I felt like even if I was good, it wouldn't make a difference because the industry that's out there is very focused on, you know, this outward standard of beauty. Exactly. So I just was never going to give it a shot further than church. But she felt like there was something there more than what I could see. And so she put me out there herself. And 2 months after she signed me up for the show, they gave me a phone call. And basically the rest was history.
So that journey, let's look at that journey from the rest you said is history. Let's talk about that history. So you came in there, and how did it go?
So I got there and I realized too late that I had not prepared for something of this magnitude. I stepped on that X and everything hit me at that point at once, where I realized like I'm about to perform in front of strangers and they're actually going to tell me whether or not they think I'm good. And not just strangers, but these 4 judges who are all experts in their own right, you know.
World renowned.
It was nerve-wracking. And all that hit me on the spot, and I was like, oh my God, how am I going to get through this? But honestly, I had the best reception from the crowd and from the judges as well. Unexpected, just
You had
their
heard about
reactions.
Simon before you got there, right?
Of course, who
And
hadn't
so-
heard about Simon? Of course, I was super nervous about him too,
So
because yeah.
him above all the others.
Definitely, because, well, I was also very nervous to meet Mel B because I grew up on Spice Girls, so that was like a starstruck moment for me. But she was really sweet, so I was happy about that. But Simon, because everyone, I mean, we're all aware of how in tune with music he is. He seems to just have a knack for knowing what sounds good, what will be good, successful. And so, you know, you go in there as a singer wanting to impress him, whether you like it or not, you know. So to get the response I got from him and that just the way that he acknowledged my talent, saying that it was a talent, definitely validated me in a way that I didn't think I needed until I heard him say those words. And that helped me for the rest of the show for real, because I felt like if Simon says and thinks that I'm okay, I'm good, then I definitely, there's something about me that allows me to belong here with all these other talented people.
So it gave you confidence.
Definitely. I mean, the nerves never went away completely up until the end, but there was definitely a clear difference in every performance. As I went on and on, I got less and less nervous, and it's still a process today. The nerves never go away fully, but they also keep me on my toes too. So I don't fully despise them, but I do wish one day, I can sing my heart out like I would when I'm at home, or in church, and just like put myself out there 100%. It's scary.
Okay, so that's about you being in America's Got Talent.
Yes.
But let's look at how that journey from the crash, your self-esteem, first of all. Okay, let's look at the journey through the hospital. How did that go for you?
So my first experience with the hospital was the one in South Africa, where I was initially flown to for emergency treatments. And South Africa was many things, like you guys said, I call it my patchwork era for a reason. That's where all the major surgeries that covered up majority of the areas that burned, that was all done in South Africa. That's where they put me together, basically. And there was not a lot of focus on the reconstructive part of the aesthetic part of the surgery. It was just about keeping me alive. But aside from the physical part, there was also the spiritual, emotional, the psychological healing that had to happen while I was there before I was thrust back out into the world. And South Africa was definitely the place that all that happened, basically. So when it comes to my self-esteem, that was something that was teamwork, I would say. My family, my support system in general, which included my family, my friends, my physiotherapists, doctors that believed in me and believed that I would get better, and all these people basically helped me piece myself, back together in ways that were not physical. That was what surgery did, the physical stuff, but the other things were the influences I had around me.
How did your faith as a Christian help?
So before the accidents, I was a Christian already. I was born into a Christian home, and my family is a family of believers. But at 16 years old, I was doing the obligatory thing. I would go to church because my family went. I would, sing and worship because I love music and because my family said to. And I believed in God because I just knew it was the right thing to do. But did I have a personal relationship with him at that point? No. I was a Christian, I was a Christian because my family believed in this faith. So after the accident, however, I found myself in a position where I was going to, if I wanted to have any healing that went beyond physical, I found that I would have to reach inside me for something that was not physical. That would be the source of the rest of my healing, basically, whatever surgery couldn't cover. And that was when I started to develop an honest interest in this God that my parents always talk about. I started asking about him and trying to figure out, what role that my faith can play in my healing process. What can you do for me that that surgery could not? And this actually was a very literal transformation for me, because I remember I had 3 nights not sleeping. I already had insomnia after the accident got worse, and I was not sleeping. No medication was working. They'd run out of drugs to give me, and I was frustrated. I was itchy. I was in pain, and nothing was working. So my mom called her mom to talk to me on the phone, and my grandma was like, she taught me this breathing exercise, which actually helped a little bit. But then she was like, she wants me to pray, And I remember the first time, I just remember hearing that. And I remember being so frustrated because I was like, how is praying going to help this physical, I literally can't sleep. Is that going to actually help me sleep? And she was like, I need to stop thinking about God as this being who's just all the way up there and just judges us for being good or bad. That's not him. He is like your dad. He's your dad. Just talk to him like you would talk to your father. And so that was the first time I actually ever prayed like I was talking to my dad. And at first I felt kind of silly, but then the more I prayed, the more it became a purging kind of. I started just crying out, yelling, and just saying everything that was on my mind. And I was so frustrated and just asking him to help me. Why won't you help? You say you're there and all that stuff. And then I was opening my eyes and it was morning. And I had no idea when I fell asleep. And my mom was just in the room there waiting for me to wake up. And I felt great. Like I felt this was the first time I was sleeping without any help from medication. So like this was significant to me. And the only difference in what I had done was to pray. So for me, it was just rational at that point to start figuring out who this God was for myself, because clearly there's something there. Even if nothing else, there was a peace that I had, that I just craved.
Is it that you were giving up hope at that point, or what?
No, no, it was just frustration. I was just looking for a solution to a very physical
The pain
problem.
was just
I couldn't sleep.
excruciating.
And the longer I stayed awake, the longer my body was stressed, and I needed to be not stressed so I could heal properly. And it was just nothing was aligning, and I was angry, very angry also, because, I felt like, hey, even if I wasn't praying, like everyone else is praying for me, like something should be happening. So that was my mentality for sure at the time. But yeah, so it was around that time that my faith kind of went through a revival of sorts, and I started to get a natural interest in God. Yeah.
Okay, so you loved music.
Yes.
Yeah, but you were not exactly singing before.
No, I was not seriously.
Okay, so thought, did you see singing now as an avenue to express yourself, or to,
Definitely.
want a better expression, vent?
Definitely both. I mean, before the accident, I grew up in a very musical household. My dad, my mom, my influences, and I loved singing already. My voice wasn't bad. And as I grew older, it was getting better as I became 15, 16. Around the time the accident happened, I was singing a little bit in school, but nothing like what I'm doing right now, for instance. So after the accident, there was definitely a significant change in my voice, first of all. One that no one can explain, but I remember the first time I sang, it was a Kelly Clarkson song, and my mom was in the room, and I sang, and she looked at me like, okay, what was that? That does not sound like you used to sound. And I was like, I know, like, wow, what's going on, And I just kind of ran with it, because it was just something, it was like this good thing out of this horrible situation.
Noticed.
I noticed. I could feel it. It came out different. And so I was just so happy, because now I could express myself more. And music was always something that brought joy to me. And now I could sing along to all my favorite songs with more confidence. And I was just so happy about the change, And so music became this escape. Literally, it became, because it was the one thing I had that wasn't painful. It was the one thing that didn't itch, or didn't need medication, nothing. I had it even if I was lying down.
The accident didn't touch.
Exactly. Perfect.
It was yours.
It was mine,
and it remained yours.
Stayed there. And I would lie there in bed, bandaged head to foot, but I would still be able to sing. So that's the impact that it had on my healing, and it was my ultimate distraction.
So after the healing process, you went back to school.
Yes.
And what did you study?
So this was in America, after I moved to America. And about 2 years into my treatment, I started to feel better. Once I started feeling myself getting bored and restless, and once that happened, that's when I realized that I'm definitely getting better. So I'm stronger. So my dad was like, "What do you want to do? I mean, you could always go back to school." And I was like, let's just get some activity in my life that isn't surgery." So that's how I started school again, high school. This was in 2008, and I finished high school in America. I graduated. Thank God, I did pretty well in the SATs, got a scholarship, and I went to University of St. Thomas in Houston, and I studied economics. Economics was like the one thing that I was actually good at in high school. That was not like English. English was my other thing, but economics, for some reason, I understood that, and so I felt like between the two, which one would I want to do that promises of like a better career, and it was economics. So I did that, and I graduated in 2015 with a first class in economics. Yes.
What's going to happen to this, given all the things you've told us you want to do?
So music is and will always be my first love. It's the one thing that has been there for me through it all. Even before I opened my eyes, I was hearing, like, my mom was playing music by my bedside, and I woke up knowing songs that I didn't know before the accident happened. And so that's the connection I have with it. So it's always going to be that thing for me. Now, the chance to actually explore music as a career is something that I've only ever dreamed about. In fact, I didn't even bother dreaming about it because I just thought it was impossible. But now, after America's Got Talent happened, the response I got on that show gave me hope that there might be something here for me, that the world might actually respond positively to anything that I do regarding music. So it's made me dream and not just dream, but like hope and work towards a music career. So, releasing songs, releasing covers, seeing people respond positively to them, it makes me feel like when I release my own songs, they're going to respond that way too. So that's what I'm working on. So I'm actually in the middle of working on a full-length album, which is the coolest thing to actually say out loud. But yeah, it's hopefully going to be a combination of all my different influences, all the different styles I love, mainly inspirational. I want to have a mix of everything. Some covers, I want to have some gospel, I want to have some Nigerian, I want to have, because I feel like I'm a melting pot of like a bunch of different like, music genres, and I want to explore all those things too in my own music. So
But
yeah.
you're still going to finish your MBA?
Yes, I will.
And you're still going to go out and look for a job at the UN?
Yes, I will. Yes, I will.
And still continue advocacy for
Burn
victims?
survivors. Yep. I want to do it all. I want to do as much as I can now that I can. Now that I have the energy to. I don't want to have. I do not want to ever say I wish I did. I don't want that. I feel like I'm in the position now where I can actually do all these different things, and even if I only succeed in one at the end of the day, at least I tried them all.
Okay, we're going to, before we let you sign us out,
Yes.
which you're going to sing us out, or sing to the world, I want to ask you this question.
Yes.
How does it feel returning to the place where it happened? Have you been to that site? Have you had an opportunity to speak with your classmates, relatives? And how does it feel?
So in 2015, I actually came back for the first time to Nigeria since the accident. That was the 10-year anniversary. And I wanted to be here in person for that because there was going to be a ceremony in Port Harcourt, which is where the accident happened. And they actually built a Jesuit school there as well. So the ceremony was going to be in the school, and I went to the school. And there I met all the parents of the kids that passed away. They set up a monument, that like a stone monument that had the names of all the kids engraved in it. It was an incredibly emotional reunion for us, and almost full circle, really. And I knew that the parents would appreciate me being there because they were one of my my top supporters through it all, because they wanted to see me do well. They wanted to see me succeed. And so I wanted to be there for them in that moment. So I was really happy I was able to be back. It was very bittersweet because on the one hand, they were happy to see me, but the circumstances were...
Reminders.
Exactly. Just we see each other and we remember what happened. So there was a lot of tears, but there was also a lot of happiness too, because they were so happy to see me and to see and to let me know that they were watching and they were happy with how I was living my life, which meant a lot to me to hear. So that was one thing that kind of gave me closure. Another thing was going back to my actual high school with a bunch of my friends that went to the same school as me, were in the same sets, and just being on those grounds, because before I went there, I dreamt about the school. It always appeared in my dreams, like over the last 10 years, all the time. I would dream about the school, I would dream about being in the school, I would dream about people that passed away in the school. And so I had to go there physically to be there and see everything again. Exactly. And that was also another moment of closure for me, coming back to Nigeria where it all happened, it's easy to think about the country and think about what they took away, from other people, from me. But I prefer to see the country as the support that I got after everything happened.
Kechi, we have to go. We could go on and talk and keep talking, but we have to give you at least 30 seconds to sing. So get your song ready while we sign out. Thank you so much.
Okay, Kechi Okuchi, traveling artist, burn advocate, survivor for multiple burns, survivor organizations, self-taught singer and inspirational speaker. And that is where we draw the curtain on today's Sunrise. We'll bring you a fresh one next Saturday. I'm Alero Edu, wishing you a very happy weekend and see you next week.
And I'm Neo Taigwe. See you next week.